ध्यायेत् शारदचन्द्रसुन्दरमुखम् ताम्रारविन्दक्षणम् भक्ताभीष्टवराभयप्रदकरम् कौपीनमात्रोज्ज्वलम् स्वात्मानन्दरसानुभूतिविवशम् सर्वानवद्याङ्गकम् श्रीमन्तं श्रीरमणीश्वरं गुरुवरं योगासनाध्यासितम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रं यहमहमिति साक्षादात्मरूपेण भवति हृदि विषमनसा स्मं चिन्वतामच्युतव पवनचलनरोधात् आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्। Namo Ramana. We will commence the Friday Atma Vicharam by listening to Bhagavan's Upadesham. I will be reading from the book Self-Enquiry, 1900 to 1950, and we will contemplate on Bhagavan's answer given to a devotee on the self-enquiry. This book, Self-Enquiry 1900 to 1950, is a compilation of all the answers given by Bhagavan on the subject matter of Atma Vichara, questions asked on Atma Vichara and Bhagavan's answer on Atma Vichara between 1900 to 1950. And this has been beautifully compiled for us by our founder president, Sri A.R. Natarajanji. And we have been looking at all the question and answers and contemplating on it. And we are now in the question and answer session between 1936 to 1950. After contemplating on the question and answer, then we will have 20 minutes Atma Vichara session, following which Sarada is busy today, so if she's let me know by 7:15 whether she can join the satsang. If not, then we will have one more question and answer session and Atma Vichara, and we will conclude it with prayers to Bhagavan. In the series of questions that we have been blessed to focus on, the question that we looked at it last week, which is a continuation of it, we will look this week too. So we will read out that question and answer and the next one. The devotee asks, peace is extolled more than anything else. How shall we gain it? Since peace is praised so much than anything else, then how is one to gain in the question here? And to which Bhagavan answers, it is your very nature. That means peace is our very nature. Forgetfulness never overtakes the self. The self is now confounded with non-self. Forgetfulness never overtakes the self, in the sense that even we have forgotten that our nature is peace, but since Self is nothing but peace itself. Self is nothing, or peace is nothing but self's nature. Bhagavan is saying is, even though we may appear to have forgotten, it will, the peace has not been gone. The very nature of the self continues to remain, even though there is a imaginative forgetfulness on superimposed on it. Then Bhagavan continues, the self is now confounded with non self, and that makes you speak of forgetfulness of the self and of peace. So, the superimposition that we do with the non self, which may be an object, we looked at it, all object are nothing but non self because it has no reality of its own. It is the self which attends to the object and says it exists. A thought exists. I have so many thoughts. So many thoughts come and go. All of that claim is being made. You have to just excuse me, I'll just close the door. There's a lot of insects coming. Yeah, there are a lot of objects. The objects are the non-self because they don't have a reality of their own. It is the self whose attention, when it falls on the objects appear to be real, and therefore the self says that all these objects, including the thought, everything is very real. But really, the thoughts, if they had their own existence, it should have appeared in the deep sleep for us, or it should have been always there. If I had a thought that I am so and so, I should have had that thought all the time. So when once I feel that I am in a depression, that should have been there all the time, but that is not the case. We do become happy, and do become sad. The emotions keep up and rising. All the thought emotions keep coming and going, and they are momentarily appear real. Therefore, none of these objects are real. Therefore, they are all non-self. So Bhagavan is saying the self is now confounded with non-self, and that makes you speak of forgetfulness of the self. And because the attention is completely on this object, we see that the self is forgotten or the peace is forgotten because the objects are continuously changing, and we think that that is all happening to me. But whereas we are the self and we are nothing but the peace, says Bhagavan here. So, oblivion will never rear up its head if this confusion is put to end. So, the confusion that we are constantly getting into, which is giving reality to the object and forgetting that it is we who is real, it is we, the unchanging thing, but all the objects are constantly changing. Instead of seeing it that way, we give absolutely no attention to the awareness, to the self that we are, but give total reality to the object. And that is why we say we have so many thoughts. I am still not in peace. I have still ups and downs in life. No matter, even a thought may come saying, I have been doing sadhana for so many years, and yet I have not achieved that ultimate peace. So, again, what are we doing? We are giving attention to that thought, we are making that thought real, and therefore, that thought seems to cover up the peace, cover up the self. We feel that we are not the self. I am still a sadhaka with so many years of effort and still I have not reached anywhere. That's how we feel. However, Bhagavan is saying, even though oblivion will never wear up if this confusion is put to end. If we recognize that we are the unchanging self, all I need to do is, if a thought comes claiming that some or if any object appears, if I can get turn back the attention to whom is it appearing. Oh, it is appearing to me. Oh, I am the self. I am the truth which is not changing. That object is only appearing real because of my attention. And when we repeatedly turn without confusion, without getting confused that the object is real, when that confusion ends, Bhagavan says, then the oblivion will never appear. That confusion will never appear. So, all that we need to do is nail this confusion down. And for that, we know very well Bhagavan has given us the Atma Vichara. In Atma Vichara, he is asking us to turn our attention back to the self whenever any object appears in the form of thought, because all objects only appear because of the thought, and the foremost of that object is the I thought, the individual nature. After the I rises, many other objects rises to that I based on its vasanas, based on its inclinations to various things. Therefore, in starting from I, all other thoughts that appear are nothing but only objects, but, but always appearing to that one subject, which is oneself. So Bhagavan is asking us to turn, to keep that in mind and keep turning back to the self, and that is the way for one to remain, to not to get confused anymore, not to become forgetful, not to get into that pramada anymore. So, the immense grace of Bhagavan, with which alone we have come to this direct path of Atma Vichara, let us do Atma Vichara. Whenever a thought rises, let us diligently inquire to whom is this thought. And it becomes clear that this thought is for me. Thereupon, we can inquire. When we inquire, who am I? Because when we say, to whom is this and me, we have now got back to the foremost object, the foremost thought, the first division called I. And when we inquire who am I and trace that I back to its source, or what do I refer to as I within me, when we trace it back to the source, even the I thought is absorbed in the source. And there is absolutely no division, no doubter, no objects, nothing but the subject alone remains. The pure existence, the pure awareness of that existence alone remains. And by repeatedly getting back to the source, Bhagavan assures that the mind will gain enough strength to remain at the source. The immense grace of Bhagavan, let us do Atma Vichara for the next 15 minutes, and then we will look at the next set of questions and answers. भगवते श्रीरमणाय Over to Sharadaka.
Shining is the self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, we are meditating on Bhagwan's teachings, the practice of self inquiry through the question answers, followed by a session of actual practice of self inquiry. And in this part of the satsang, we are meditating on the answers of Bhagavan to Ganapati Muni and many disciples of Ganapati Muni whom the Muni brought to Bhagavan. In fact, the Muni, when he came to Bhagavan, when he surrendered to Bhagavan, and he found that this is my Sadguru, he then christened him as Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, and he immediately wrote to all his disciples saying, I have found my master, I have found my Guru. He is Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. Let the whole world know him as such. And that sankalpa of the Muni is what is fructified now. So all of them came to Bhagavan. From time to time, they asked him their doubts, whichever their doubts were. And these have been codified by Ganapati Muni into 18 chapters, like the chapters of Bhagavad Gita. They have been codified as Ramana Gita. And we are now meditating on the fifth chapter, which is the science of the heart, Hridaya Vidya. And in this chapter, Bhagavan begins by telling us what the spiritual heart is. It is the source of all thoughts. It is the source of the I thought. And to think about it is a concept because the source is the self. By saying so, Bhagavan has pointed out to us that any thought which comes to us, any thought which is rising in the mind, is not Atmanubhava. It is a thought, it is a concept. So, even if we were to describe the self, because he has told us already in the earlier chapters that when we meditate on Aham Brahmasmi, when we meditate on other such concepts, when we do the discrimination between Satya, Vastu, Viveka, all this would be in the mental realm. But what is the heart? The heart is the source from which first the I thought rises. And thereupon other thoughts rise. So, first with the rising of the I thought itself, we have come into the realm of the mind. Only when the I thought subsides, we get into the realm of the self. So, no matter what our understanding of the self, we may say it is all pervading, we may say it is immutable, we may say anything about it, and we may say it is the source, says Bhagavan. Saying it is the source is also a bhavana like any other bhavana about the self. When if you say even bhavana about the self is only a bhavana, what to say about other bhavanas about the body? Obviously, they are all mere thoughts. They are only thoughts. They are not the Atmanubhava, Bhavana Kriti Varnanam. Actually, if we look at our experience, every experience for us, we transfer into a bhavana, we transfer into a mere thought, we transfer it into a concept, we change it into a concept. That is why it is not possible to actually share any experience in words. We give the example always of saying that if you want to tell somebody what is sweetness, what do you mean when you say something is sweet? No matter what we explain, it will not communicate the essence of the experience. So when we take a spoonful of sugar and give it to them to taste it, oh, this is sweet, is it? So the taste is different from the word. The taste is different from the experience. This is so of sense experiences. What to say of the subtlest of experiences? Bhagavan says in Aksharamanamale, நுண்ணுரு உனையான் வெண்ணுரு நன்னிட என் அலை இருமென்று அருணாச்சலா. Unless the thought waves stop, it is not possible to experience you, who is the subtlest of the subtle. So here Bhagavan is telling us that we must experience the heart. The descriptions are meant only to guide us, to take us close to it. They are not substitutes for the experience. Bhavana Kriti Varnanam. Why then are descriptions given? Because they take us to a close point, to an approximation of the experience. That is one. Secondly, they prevent our being in wrong knowledge. If I think, for example, that one of the Shat chakras in the chakra sadhana, namely the Anahata chakra, is the final point, that would not be the case. And again, if I think Sahasrara, reaching the Sahasrara is the final point, even that is not the case, because one has to get back to the spiritual heart, which is the source. The goal of sadhana, as Bhagavan explains it, is to get back to the source and abide in the source. So that we do not go wrong, Bhagavan says it is not a physical organ, it is not the Anahata chakra, meaning to say it is not any other subtle experience or point of meditation. It is not physical, it is not mental, it is not subtly mental like visions and chakras. So, what is it? How does one get to it? One can only get to it by abiding in the thought free state. So, when one practices that, Bhagavan says one gets to what is called nirvikalpa. Without thoughts only, one can experience the spiritual heart. When there is a cessation of thoughts, because the varnana, when the varnana arises, that is not the experience. If a thought arises, it is varnana. It is varnana of some experience. It's a description of some experience. It's a concept about some experience. So the varnana has to subside. All descriptions, all concepts have to subside. Now that subsidence happens for a short period of time, it is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. There is no objective knowledge at all whatsoever. But if the subsidence has to be steady, it has to happen even when objective knowledge is there. Now, how will that happen? When one recognizes that the objective knowledge is not the truth. How does objective knowledge manifest? It manifests as physical or bodily experiences, or it manifests as mental experiences, which is waking and dream. You may even say that these two states of ours, in the waking state, we experience things through the body, and in the dream state, we experience things purely through the mind. So, what is Bhagavan telling us? Even though you may experience a world through the body, where does the world actually exist? It looks as if I have a body and there is a world, but Bhagavan has told us that the entire world is contained in the body. Andam Vapushi Nishesham, without any leftover remainder, anything remaining. The entire world is contained within the body. So, if I have a sense of a body, only then the world is there. The Atma Vichara, questions the validity of this assumption that I am a body. When I question the validity of this assumption, I get to the question, if I am not the body, who am I? And I don't have an answer because I have said I am not the body. So when we negate the body idea, then automatically no other concept can arise. Because if I really say I am not the body, is it possible for me to have any physical experiences like hunger or pain or thirst or sensation or motion? Can I say I am talking, I am walking, I am sitting, I am standing, I am lying down? Is it possible for me to say any of this if I am not a body? It is not possible for me to associate myself with any physical motion, with any physical experience, physiological experience like hunger or breathing or thirst or feeling satisfied, hunger not being there, pain and freedom from pain. None of this can be there when I am not the body. So, all the experiences that pertain to the body at the physiological level, plus all the experiences that pertain to the body through the senses. If I am not the body, can I see something? Can I hear something? Can I smell something? Can I taste something? Can I touch something when I am not a body? So the entire world, which is experienced only through the senses, is dependent purely on the body idea. I am the body idea. And in who am I? One questions this idea. Because when I ask myself, who am I am already saying I am not the body. I don't have to say it again. Because I have understood that I am not the body, I am asking myself, who am I? Why would we ask ourselves, who am I, if we already had a clear picture about who we are? If I already know who I am, why will I ask myself, who am I? I ask myself, who am I? Only because I have come to a point of doubt. This body cannot be I. There is something which animates the body. There is something which makes the body conscious of itself and appearing to be the I. What is that something? Who am I? Our attention goes to that question, who am I? The question goes back. So when we question thus, what remains? What thought can arise? No thought can arise. And thereby all the thoughts have subsided in the heart. Nishesham Hridaye Vapuhu. So the thought, I am the body. Where from does it rise? There are two aspects to this thought. I am the body. One part is the body, and the other part is I am. Now, what is I am? I am is the heart. In Arunachala Pancharatnam, Bhagavan says, because Hridi, I am iti. Because it says, I am, this is I, therefore Vadanti Hridayam Nama. Because it is revealing itself as, here I am, this is the heart, this is the heart. So this I am is there, and even when body thought is not there, as we know in deep sleep, I am is there. So I am is the substratum or the source from which the body idea must have arisen. So when in who am I we question, beyond the body, when the body idea is not there, who am I? Then thought subsides into its source, the heart, and the awareness rises that everything, the body idea, beginning with the body idea, everything has arisen only from the heart. In another way, in Vensamai, it is said to trace this thought back to the source. Where from does this thought, I am the body, arise? When one questions thus, one understands it rises only from the spiritual heart, which is pure consciousness. As Bhagavan has said, it is pure consciousness. It is not something that can be grasped by the mind or is within the realm of the mind. So, whenever the mind arises in the form of any thought, we recognize that this thought is arising because I am identifying myself with a body. I am thinking I am the body, and because I think I am the body, I am thinking there is a world outside. There is a division between this body and the world outside. Every thought is a revelation that I am identifying with the body. Every recognition of the world is an awareness, is a scope for an opportunity to become aware. Oh, I am thinking I am this body, that is why I am thinking of an other. I am thinking of the world is other than me. So Bhagavan says there are no others, there is no world at all. He says there is no other, there is no world. So, if I think I am this body, then a world arises. So, as and when a thought arises, we can become aware, oh, this thought has arisen because I have made a division between myself and the world by building a fortress around myself, by segregating myself, by isolating myself, as I am only within this body. So we realize this every time an emotion arises, we can recognize it. This is the way to go in from I am the body idea back to the source, to remember, to keep remembering. This body idea is only that much, it is only an idea. I am the body is only an idea. So every waking experience stems from this. And what about the dream experience? That is also springing only from the I am the body idea. However, in the dream, there is no physical body, there is only the subtle body, which is called the mind. So, is the mind apart from the self? If the body is contained in the self, if everything, in fact, Bhagavan says, everything is contained in the self. In Ekanva Panchakam, Bhagavan says, தன்னு தனு விருக்க தான ஜட உடலன் தன்னுள் இருப்பதா தானுன்னு மன்னவன். தன்னுள் தனு இருக்க, when the body is within the self, the ignorant one says the self is within the body. It is like saying that the picture which is seen, supposing in a movie we see, in a movie we see another movie happening in a movie. So we say that movie is within this movie. We say the movie is the basis, and that second movie within the movie is within the first movie. But The whole thing is the adhara is only the screen for everything. Be it the first movie, the second movie, even the first movie is not there. Even that is dependent on the screen. So சித்திரத்தின் உள்ளுளத சித்திரத்துக்கு ஆதார வஸ்து என்றுவான். The movie, the first movie itself is dependent on the screen, and that is taken to be the basis for the remaining films which are seen. Similarly, the mind is only within the heart. Bhagavan says in the next verse, which we have been meditating on, that bhuvanam manaso nanyat anyanya hridayan manaha. See, first of all, the mind does not exist apart from the heart. There is one stage where we think that the world has an independent entity. It is independent of us. Our condition is that we think world is independent, body, eye, mind and all are independent, and self is something separate sitting within us. This is our concept. Even when we understand that it is not so intellectually, if we look at our thoughts, if we look at our experiences, if we look at our actions, they are all saying there is this triputi, there are three, there is a world, there is a self, and there is God, or there is a world, there is the individual self, and there is God, or the supreme self. We keep seeing these three. So until we understand that everything is contained in the self, there will always be some kind of dependency on that which is outside. The moment we see a division, the moment we see outside and inside, there will be some dependency on that which is outside. And the moment this dependency on that which is outside arises, then there is constant duality, and springing from that duality, there will be multiplicity. There will be the primary duality of fear and desire. Since I depend on my joy for something outside me, I will be afraid whether I will get it. After getting it, I will be afraid whether I will lose it. I will constantly have a desire to get it. Or if I have a fear of something outside of myself, then I will have the fear of getting it, or the fear of it's coming to me. I don't want this. What if it comes? That fear will be there. Constantly it will be there. So if we see anything as apart from the self, we will get caught in the world of dualities and trinities. That's why Bhagavan at the beginning of this chapter he says, Samsari Manujo Bhavet. He becomes a worldly person. He becomes one to whom the a world seems to be attached, or rather, one who is in fact attached to the world. So, one must not give room for the rise of the second itself. The rays of the first, then second, then third. The first person I should also not arise. So Bhagavan says, Andam Vapushi Nishchesham, without anything remaining, not even the I thought, the entirety of all that is contained in the self, is contained in the spiritual heart. Everything including the Ishvara Tattva, is contained in the heart. There is nothing which is not there within the heart. So, contained within the heart means its very nature is the Sat. Heart is Satchitananda. Heart is the fullness. Heart is the self. So, when we say something is contained within the heart, it means that is also the fullness, that's also the self. So, there is no such division. So one must get back to the undivided truth. How does one do it? Bhagavan says through self inquiry. First, by understanding that everything everything is contained within the self. There's no, not even an iota of something which is outside the gamut of the self. So turn back. Vishesham hridaye vapuhu tasmad andasya sarvasya hridayam rupa sangraha. So the entire universe is only the heart in which the world is contained by the body subsiding in this, the body idea. Body means body idea. That's why Bhagavan also says the mind also has to subside in this source. There is nothing outside. Because whenever the desire arises, thought is desire. Thought takes us outward. It says, do this. That moment itself, we must remember, what do I have to do? I have to do X, Y, Z. Why do I have to do it? Because there is something outside to be achieved. But is something outside at all? Is there anything that is outside? There is nothing. Bhagavan has said there is nothing that is outside. It's all contained within me. So why should the mind move at all? So this way, by turning back and by further seeing, where from does this I thought arise? When we say it is my source, and we experience it, each one of us experience it only within, until the body idea is there. Therefore, Bhagavan gives us the method of whence am I? Where from within this body is this thought I arising? Go back to the source. Bhagavan says, go back to the source and his infinite grace. When he gives us some instruction, when he says that everything is contained in the heart, it is a promise to experience that everything, that fullness which is contained in the heart. It is so for every statement which Bhagavan makes. So when Bhagavan tells us these things in Ramana Gita, we take it as his immense grace that reveals it to us. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ram.
Thank you, Akka. Aparasachit Sukavarirashe Yasyormimatram Bhuvanam Samastam Guhahitam Tam Ramanam Gabhiram Chintavihinam Hridi Chintayami Chinta